On January 13, 2026, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi stunned the world with a dramatic announcement that sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles and newsrooms alike. He claimed his government possessed secret audio recordings that, he said, proved foreign powers had orchestrated the recent deadly unrest shaking the country. These weren't just vague rumors or unsubstantiated accusations. Araghchi insisted the tapes contained direct orders from foreign agents to armed cells operating inside Iran's borders. The announcement, coming just days after violent protests rocked major cities, reframed the entire narrative. According to Araghchi, Iran was not simply facing internal dissent, but was under attack in a coordinated foreign-backed assault. Araghchi positioned Iran as the victim of a sophisticated terrorist war, presenting the audio evidence as undeniable proof of outside interference and manipulation. The explosive claim immediately shifted global focus away from Iran's domestic turmoil, redirecting attention to a potential confrontation with the US and Israel, the countries Araghchi hinted were behind the plot. By promising to reveal these recordings to the world, Iran directly challenged its adversaries to respond, dramatically raising the stakes on the international stage and putting pressure on foreign governments to address the allegations. Tehran's move has already achieved a key goal, recasting the protests not as a domestic crisis, but as a battlefield in a shadowy, high-stakes war between nations. Now the world waits anxiously. Will Iran actually release the tapes, and if so, what secrets and international consequences might they reveal? The backdrop to Iran's claims was a wave of violent unrest that swept through the country from January 8 to 10, shaking major cities and drawing international attention. Streets filled with demonstrators, and the atmosphere was tense, as both sides braced for confrontation. The government alleges the chaos was no spontaneous protest, but a carefully orchestrated operation by armed groups embedded among ordinary demonstrators. Officials point to the presence of masked men and coordinated tactics as evidence of planning and outside influence. Tehran claims these covert cells, directed by foreign handlers, were tasked with maximizing bloodshed and provoking a harsh security crackdown. According to authorities, these groups were well organized, receiving instructions and support from abroad to destabilize the country. Officials say they have obtained confessions and photos of weapons distributed in crowds, targeting not only police, but also public spaces, like markets, ambulances, and even mosques. These claims are used to justify the sweeping arrests and security measures. This narrative links the unrest to a broader conflict with Israel, framing it as part of an ongoing shadow war that extends beyond Iran's borders and into the wider Middle East, fueling regional tensions. The government's version of events justifies its harsh response and seeks to rally nationalist sentiment, urging citizens to unite against what it calls outside enemies and foreign plots threatening national security. Meanwhile, opposition groups and activists insist the protests were genuine expressions of public anger, met with brutal force and widespread repression by the authorities, further fueling grievances. Iran's official account serves to both legitimize its crackdown and unite the nation against alleged foreign conspirators, shaping public perception and reinforcing the government's narrative in a time of crisis. At the heart of Iran's accusations are the secret audio recordings. Officials claim the tapes contain explicit instructions from American and Israeli handlers to armed cells, detailing attacks on police, civilians, and even ambulances. The messages allegedly urge militants to escalate violence, promising foreign support and painting their actions as part of a larger plan to destabilize Iran. If authentic, these recordings would be a diplomatic bombshell, justifying Iran's crackdown and fueling outrage against its enemies. The specificity, targeting civilians and emergency services, aims to shock and sway global opinion. Tehran presents these tapes as the smoking gun of foreign-sponsored terrorism. Yet, the world remains skeptical, awaiting proof. Iran has dropped all pretense, directly accusing the US and Israel of masterminding the unrest. Officials in Tehran have taken a hardline stance, claiming that foreign powers are not just influencing, but actively orchestrating the protests that have swept across the country. These accusations have been broadcast widely, fueling anti-American and anti-Israeli sentiment among the Iranian public. Araghchi singled out the Trump administration, interpreting its vocal support for Iranian protesters as a clear call for regime change. He argued that statements from U.S. officials, especially during the height of the demonstrations, were designed to embolden dissent and destabilize the government from within. Tehran claims the violence was designed to justify foreign intervention, with the audio evidence as proof of a larger plot. Iranian authorities insist that intercepted communications reveal coordination between protest leaders and foreign agents, painting the unrest as part of a calculated strategy. While Iran accuses Israel of instigating the chaos, some reports suggest Israeli officials actually advised against direct involvement, fearing it would undermine the protesters' legitimacy. This contradiction has only added to the confusion and suspicion swirling around the events. This web of accusations and denials highlights the deep mistrust in the region. Every statement and action is scrutinized, with each side quick to blame the other for escalating tensions and instability. For Iran, every internal crisis is seen through the lens of foreign conspiracy. The narrative of outside interference is deeply embedded in the country's political culture, shaping both public opinion and government policy. The government is now using these claims to shape the diplomatic battlefield, daring its adversaries to respond. By framing the unrest as a foreign plot, Iran seeks to rally domestic support and put international critics on the defensive. The world is forced to choose sides as tensions escalate, with each new development threatening to draw in more players and deepen the crisis. Iran's use of explosive audio leaks is nothing new. In 2021, a leaked tape of then-Foreign Minister Zarif exposed deep rifts between Iran's diplomats and the powerful Revolutionary Guard, shaking the political establishment. The leak revealed Zarif's frustration at being sidelined by the military, confirming suspicions of a divided government. It also included claims of secret Israeli airstrikes, highlighting the compartmentalization of power in Iran. That episode weakened reformists and empowered hardliners. Now, those same hardliners are using the promise of new recordings to project unity and rally the nation against external threats. Audio leaks have become a potent weapon in Iran's political arsenal, this time aimed outward. Tehran's accusations have triggered a diplomatic standoff. The U.S. dismisses the claims, reiterating support for peaceful protest, while Israel remains silent. Iran's next move is critical. If the recordings are released and verified, it could embarrass Washington and Tel Aviv, shifting global alliances. If the evidence is weak or never materializes, Iran's credibility will suffer, reinforcing suspicions of propaganda. The crisis complicates relations for regional and global powers, especially those still invested in the nuclear deal. The world is now on edge, watching for Iran's next step. Will the tapes be released? How will the US and Israel respond? The answers could reshape the Middle East, and the stakes have never been higher.